The smartest people you know are probably broke, or at least not as wealthy as they should be. This isn't random. This isn't bad luck. This is intelligence working against itself. High IQ people tend to be worse at wealth building than average IQ people. They overthink. They overanalyze. They see problems everywhere. They can't commit to simple strategies because they're always looking for the clever angle. They think themselves into poverty while average people execute their way to wealth. This is one of the most counterintuitive findings in behavioral finance. And it explains why so many brilliant founders are broke even though they're making six figures. Today's guest has spent years studying this paradox. She's a brilliant founder herself who almost fell into the trap. And what she's learned will challenge everything you think about intelligence and success. Zara, welcome to Scale Up Stories.
Thank you for having me. And I want to start with the research that changed my life.
What did you find?
That intelligence and wealth are not correlated. In fact, they're slightly negatively correlated. Higher IQ people tend to have lower net worth than average IQ people with the same income.
How is that possible?
Because intelligence creates problems that simpler minds don't have. A simple-minded person sees a path to wealth. Earn money, save 30%, invest it, don't touch it. They follow the path. 30 years later, they're wealthy. A smart person sees the same path and immediately thinks, but what if I optimize this? What if I invest differently? What if I do something more clever? Then they spend 10 years researching the perfect investment strategy. By the time they start investing, they've lost a decade of compound growth.
So, overthinking is the problem?
Overthinking is part of it. But there's more. Smart people are creative. They can see alternatives where simple people see one path. This is great for problem solving. It's terrible for wealth building. Because wealth building isn't a problem that needs solving. It's a formula that needs following.
What's the formula?
Earn more than you spend. Invest the difference. Let it compound. That's it. But a smart person looks at that formula and thinks, that's too simple. There must be something I'm missing. So they look for the loophole. They research alternatives. They never start because they're still analyzing.
Have you seen this in your own life?
Extensively. I nearly fell into this trap myself. I spent years researching the perfect business model before I started my first company. If I'd just started a simple business at 25, I'd be vastly wealthier than I am now. Instead, I waited until 32 because I wanted to find the perfect opportunity. Those 7 years were worth millions.
Let's dig into analysis paralysis. How does it work?
Smart people are trained to think deeply, to consider all angles, to find the flaws in an argument. This is valuable in academics and science. You need to think deeply. But in wealth building and business, deep thinking is the enemy. Because wealth building is boring and simple. Earn, save, invest, repeat. There are no hidden complexities. There are no clever angles. It's just doing the thing over and over.
So the smart person keeps analyzing?
They keep analyzing forever. They become an expert in investing theory without ever investing. They read every personal finance book. They understand all the strategies. They can debate the merits of different approaches. But they don't have any money because they haven't started.
How do you break the analysis paralysis?
You have to accept that boring is winning. You have to accept that you don't need to find the perfect strategy. You need to find a good strategy and execute it. This is incredibly hard for smart people because good feels wrong. They want it to be great.
What's the difference?
Good strategy earns you 7% annually on your investments. You get wealthy in 30 years. Great strategy earns you 8% annually. You get slightly more wealthy in 30 years. But the time spent finding great strategy is probably 100 times the additional wealth you'll earn. So the math says, find a good strategy and do it. But smart people will spend 10 years finding the great strategy.
Smart people love optimization. Isn't that useful?
Optimization is useful in engineering and science. You want the most efficient solution. But optimization is dangerous in wealth building because it creates endless loops. You optimize your savings rate. Then you optimize your investment allocation. Then your tax strategy. Then your withdrawal strategy. Each optimization takes time. Each optimization saves you maybe 0.1% of your wealth, but the total time spent is hours and hours.
Can't you just optimize once?
That's the theory. But smart people don't stop. Once they optimize one thing, they see another thing to optimize. It becomes a game. How much better can I make this? Meanwhile, simple people have already started. They're 10 years in. They have compound growth working. The smart person is still optimizing.
Is there a way to know when to stop?
Yes. Ask, will this optimization change my outcome materially? If the answer is no, stop. Move on to execution. Most optimizations won't change your outcome materially. They'll change it by 0.1%, but they'll take 10 hours.
Smart people seem to want things to be perfect before they start.
Absolutely. This is the biggest trap. Smart people think, I'll start once I have the perfect plan, once I understand everything, once I have all the information. They're waiting for the starting line to be perfect before they cross it. But the starting line is never perfect. You always learn more by doing than by thinking.
Give me an example.
A founder who wants to start a company but is waiting for the perfect idea. They research for 2 years to find the perfect market, the perfect problem, the perfect solution. Meanwhile, an average IQ founder has started a mediocre company and learned more in 6 months than the smart person learned in 2 years. The mediocre company is likely generating revenue. The smart person is still researching.
How do you overcome this?
You have to separate perfect from good enough. Good enough means it's viable, it will work, it's not great, but it will generate results. Perfect means there's no way it could be better. There's no flaw. There's no improvement possible. Perfect doesn't exist. So if you wait for perfect, you wait forever. Good enough exists everywhere. You can start with it today.
Isn't there a risk that good enough is too risky?
Sometimes. But the data shows that starting with good enough and iterating is safer than waiting for perfect. Because you get feedback. You learn what works. You adjust. If you wait for perfect, you never get feedback. You never learn. You never adjust.
Smart people tend to be educated. Is education the problem?
Education is wonderful, but it creates a trap for wealth building. Educated people believe that the answer to every problem is to learn more. If you're struggling financially, the answer is to read more books, take more courses, learn more strategies. This is true in academics, but it's false in wealth building.
Why?
Because you don't need more knowledge. You need execution. Most people already know what they need to know about wealth building. Earn more, spend less, invest the difference. But they don't do it. So they read another book thinking the answer is more knowledge. It's not. The answer is execution.
How much knowledge is enough?
Probably 10 hours of reading. That's enough to understand the basics of investing. After 10 hours, additional reading is probably harmful because it's replacing doing time with thinking time.
But what if you read something that changes everything?
That's possible, but it's rare. Most additional knowledge is marginal improvements. The cost of searching for that one transformative piece of knowledge is usually higher than the benefit.
Do smart people struggle with delegation?
Yes, they struggle because they think they can do everything better, and they probably can. Smart people are usually good at most things, but that's not the question. The question is, what's the highest use of my time? For a founder, the highest use is strategy and hiring, not execution, but smart people will do the execution because they can do it better than the person they hire. So they end up managing the business instead of leading it.
How do you break that pattern?
You have to accept that good execution by someone else is better than great execution by you, because your time is worth more than their time. If you're a founder making $10M a year, your time is worth $5,000 per hour. If you hire someone making $100K a year, their time is worth $50 per hour. If a task takes you 1 hour at great quality, or the other person 3 hours at good quality, you should delegate it. Because 3 hours at $50 is $150. 1 hour at $5,000 is $5,000. You lose money by doing it yourself.
Do smart people understand this math?
Theoretically, but emotionally, they don't want to let go of control because they think their way is better, and it usually is. But better isn't the relevant metric. Return on time is the relevant metric.
How did you realize this was happening to you?
I was deep in analysis paralysis about my first business idea. I had spent 2 years researching the perfect software problem to solve. I'd read hundreds of articles. I'd interviewed dozens of potential customers. I'd created financial models. But I hadn't built anything. Meanwhile, a less intelligent friend had started a mediocre agency and was making 6 figures. It was humbling.
What did you do?
I forced myself to stop analyzing and start building. I gave myself 48 hours to come up with an idea. Not the perfect idea, just an idea. Then I had 1 week to validate it with customers. Then I had 2 weeks to build an MVP. Then I had 1 month to launch. It was terrifying because I didn't have time to optimize. I didn't have time to perfect. But I launched. And I learned more in that first month than I had in 2 years of analysis.
Did it work?
The first idea didn't work, but I learned what didn't work, so I pivoted. The second idea worked, and I had revenue within 3 months. If I'd kept analyzing, I'd still be researching.
Did you eventually optimize?
I did. Once I had a working business, optimization made sense. But the optimization was on top of a working business, not instead of it.
Do you think there's a way smart people could leverage their intelligence without getting stuck?
Absolutely. The key is to use intelligence for specific problems, not for all problems. Intelligence is useful for strategy, framework design, understanding complex systems, predicting consequences. Intelligence is not useful for day-to-day execution, following a plan, resisting optimization, staying committed. Smart people should use their intelligence to create a good plan. Then they should turn off their intelligence and execute the plan. This is hard. They want to keep their intelligence on, but keeping it on means constantly second-guessing the plan.
How do you turn it off?
You set rules that prevent rethinking. We commit to this strategy for 6 months. No reconsidering before 6 months. We follow this investment plan. No changes until annual review. We execute this business model. No pivoting for 2 years unless revenue is 0. By setting rules, you remove the ability to overthink in the moment.
Does that limit adaptability?
Yes, but that's actually good. Constant adaptation is another form of overthinking. You adapt in response to feedback, not in response to new thoughts.
Is there a humility issue with smart people?
Huge. Smart people often lack humility about execution. They think, I'm smart. I can figure anything out. I don't need to follow someone else's boring plan. But execution doesn't care how smart you are. A simple plan executed consistently beats a complex plan executed inconsistently. A boring plan followed for 30 years beats a clever plan abandoned after 2 years.
So the lesson is humility?
Humility, yes. And respect for the boring. Boring is boring for a reason. It works. That's why it's boring. Exciting ideas are exciting for a reason. They don't work. That's why they never get boring, they disappear.
What does the contrast look like when you watch them side by side?
The smart person spends the first year analyzing. The simple person spends the first year executing. After year 1, the simple person has real data. They know if the idea works. They have customers or they have proof it doesn't work. The smart person has a comprehensive analysis and no data. By year 3, the simple person has iterated based on real feedback. They've pivoted or doubled down. They have a working model. The smart person is still refining their strategy. By year 5, the simple person is profitable and building wealth. The smart person is finally starting to execute on the plan they've perfected, but by now, market conditions have changed. Their perfect plan is outdated. This isn't theoretical. I've watched this pattern dozens of times. The simple person with an average idea and great execution beats the smart person with a great idea and average execution every time.
Can smart people change this?
Yes, but it requires deliberate effort. They have to fight their nature. They have to override the instinct to analyze more. The smart people I know who have gotten wealthy did it by setting hard rules. They forced themselves to execute. They set timelines. We analyze for 2 weeks. Then we decide. Then we execute for 3 months before we reevaluate. They chose boring strategies and committed to them. They delegated the thinking to people more senior and focused on execution. By putting constraints on their intelligence, they freed themselves to execute.
Do smart people lack confidence?
The opposite. They have too much confidence in their thinking. They're confident that they can think their way to the right answer, but they underestimate the value of action. Action teaches you things thinking never can.
Like what?
Customer behavior, market dynamics, your own capability, what actually works versus what you thought would work. Most smart people are surprised when they take action because reality doesn't match their thinking. They overestimated some things. They underestimated others, but they couldn't have known without acting.
So, action is the missing ingredient?
For smart people, yes. Simple people naturally take action. Smart people naturally think. So smart people need to force themselves to act. Simple people need to force themselves to think. Both need balance, but smart people are usually out of balance toward thinking.
Rapid fire?
Ready.
Biggest mistake smart people make with money?
Waiting for the perfect plan before they start investing.
Biggest advantage simple people have?
They don't second-guess themselves. They just do the thing.
How long should you analyze before starting?
Days, not weeks. Days, not months. Definitely not years.
Is overthinking ever valuable?
In science and engineering, not in business or personal finance.
Can smart people learn to be simple?
Yes, but it's hard because they have to fight their nature.
What's the biggest paradox?
That more intelligence doesn't help. Sometimes it hurts.
How do smart people break out of this?
First, they need to recognize the trap. They're analyzing instead of acting. Then, they need to set rules that prevent overthinking.
What kind of rules?
Time limits on research. You research for 1 week, then you decide and move forward. No changing strategy for 6 months. You commit to the plan and execute it. No optimization until you have a working business. First, get it working, then optimize. Decision rules. Instead of analyzing each decision, you follow a pre-made rule.
Do those rules work?
Incredibly well. The moment smart people stop analyzing and start executing, everything changes. They start building wealth. They start making progress. They start learning.
Why don't they do this naturally?
Because their brain is trained to analyze. Stopping feels like laziness. It feels wrong to not understand everything perfectly. But that feeling is the trap. They have to push through it.
Zara, close us out. What should smart people understand about wealth and success?
I think the most important thing is to understand that intelligence is not the bottleneck. Intelligence is useful for specific problems, but wealth building and business aren't intelligence problems. They're execution problems.
What's the difference?
An intelligence problem has many solutions, and you need to find the best one. An execution problem has a known solution, and you need to do it consistently. Wealth building is pure execution. There's no clever solution. You just do the boring thing.
So high IQ is actually a disadvantage?
It can be, if you let it override execution. High IQ is an advantage if you use it to execute better, but a disadvantage if you use it to avoid executing.
How do you know which you're doing?
Ask yourself, am I moving toward my goal? Or am I thinking about moving toward my goal? If you're moving, your intelligence is helping you. If you're thinking, your intelligence is hurting you.
Zara, thank you for showing us the intelligence trap.
Thank you for asking. I think smart people need permission to be simple. They need permission to execute without perfect understanding. They need permission to start before they're ready.
Everyone listening, if you're smart, you probably know this already. The problem is, you're not doing it. Stop analyzing. Start executing. Follow a boring plan. Let it compound. That's episode 33 of Scale Up Stories. I'm Sakil. Intelligence is a poor predictor of wealth.